Rain hammered Atlanta like the sky had a personal vendetta. Jackson Reynolds' 2011 Ford F-150 groaned its way up Martin Luther King Jr. Drive windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against water that sheeted across glass faster than rubber could sweep it away. Dashboard clock blinked 11:47 p.m. in sickly green LED. The heater worked intermittently, which meant the cab alternated between muggy and frigid every few minutes. From the back seat, a small voice cut through the drum of rain on metal. "Daddy, I'm tired." Jack glanced in the rearview mirror. Maya sat buckled into her booster seat, 8-year-old braids coming loose from the careful work he'd done that morning, before school clutching a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Hopscotch that had been hers since she was 3, and her mother was still alive, and the world made a kind of sense it hadn't managed since. "I know, baby girl. Almost home." "You said that 10 minutes ago." Jack couldn't help the small smile that tugged at his mouth despite bone-deep exhaustion. "This time I mean it. Promise." Another late shift fixing faulty wiring in some overpriced Buckhead condo, where the owner, a tech executive who'd made his fortune in cryptocurrency and his personality in hell, had complained loudly and at length about how Jack had taken too long to locate the problem in walls that hadn't been properly maintained in a decade. The check would clear by Friday. $400 that would cover Maya's insulin for the month, plus her school field trip to the Georgia Aquarium, plus maybe if Jack stretched grocery money thin enough in new shoes, since her current pair had holes worn through both soles. Type 1 diabetes, diagnosed when Maya was 6, 2 years after Rebecca died. Another thing, insurance barely covered another monthly expense that required Jack to work 15-hour days, 6 days a week just to stay current on medical bills. That compounded faster than he could pay them down. "You did what you had to do." That's what Rebecca used to say back when she was alive, back when she'd teach first grade during the day and come home smelling like Crayola markers and vanilla extract humming songs she couldn't remember the words to, but sang anyway because she was that kind of person, the kind who found joy in small things, who made their tiny 2-bedroom apartment feel like a palace, because love mattered more than square footage. Jack pushed the memory away, dwelling on the past 3 years, on the drunk driver who'd run a red light and killed his wife instantly, on the lawyers with the expensive suit who'd gotten that driver off with community service, because money bought different justice than the rest of the world received on the nights he'd held Maya while she cried for her mother and asked questions. Jack couldn't answer. None of that helped. Not now. Not when Maya needed dinner and a bath and her bedtime story and the insulin injection she hated, but accepted with a bravery that broke Jack's heart every single time. The truck's headlights caught something in the road ahead. A figure, stumbling, one arm wrapped around ribs like trying to hold broken pieces together, the other reaching, blindly grasping at air for support that wasn't there. "Daddy, I see someone." Jack registered details in the half-second before everything changed. Woman. White blazer soaked through fabric, clinging to frame too thin for health. Blonde hair plastered across face. One shoe missing. The remaining shoe Louboutin, though Jack wouldn't know, that wouldn't recognize the signature red sole worth $1,200 barely holding on her foot. She took 2 more steps forward, directly into the F-150's high beams. Then her legs gave out and she collapsed onto wet pavement like a puppet with cut strings. Jack slammed the brakes. The truck skidded tires, losing traction on rain-slicked asphalt. For one terrible moment, they slid forward, still moving, heading directly toward the woman's prone form. Then the tires caught. The F-150 jerked to a stop 6 feet from where she'd fallen. Jack's training took over before conscious thought could interfere. He threw the transmission into park, killed the engine, pulled the keys. "Stay in the truck, Maya." His daughter's eyes went wide in the rearview mirror. "But lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me. Understand?" Maya nodded, reaching for the lock button. Smart kid, his kid. Rebecca's kid, with those same intelligent eyes that saw too much and understood more than any 8-year-old should have to. Jack stepped out into the rain that immediately soaked through his flannel work shirt. Within 3 seconds, he was drenched. Within 5, he was kneeling beside the woman, hands hovering over her shoulders, not touching yet, because you never touch without permission, never assumed, never forgot, that scared people needed agency, especially when they needed help. She was on her side, gasping, fingers scrabbling weakly against concrete, like she was trying to crawl, but her body had forgotten how. Up close, Jack could see the damaged forehead gash bleeding freely, mixing pink with rainwater. Right ankle bent at an angle that made his stomach clench, definitely broken compound fracture from the way bone pressed against skin. Bruises circling both wrists. Defensive wounds. Someone had grabbed her. Hard. Recently. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" She turned her head. Blue eyes found his wide, terrified pupils blown from shock, or pain, or both. Her mouth opened, but the words came out fractured. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." Jack kept his voice low, steady, the same tone he'd used on wounded Marines in Kandahar, on civilians caught in crossfire on his daughter the night they'd buried Rebecca, and Maya had asked if Mommy would be cold in the ground. "I'm not going to hurt you. My name's Jack. I'm going to help you. Can you tell me what happened?" She flinched when he shifted his weight when his shadow moved across her face. Her breathing came too fast, heading toward hyperventilation. "Easy, easy. I won't touch you unless you say I can. But you're hurt badly. I need to know, are you injured anywhere besides your ankle and head?" Her lips trembled. Blood trickled from the forehead wound following the curve of her cheekbone before dripping off her chin. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible over the rain. "He's coming. They're coming for me." "Who's coming?" Before she could answer, before Jack could process what that meant, headlights flared behind them. Bright, close, getting closer. Jack turned. A vehicle approached through the downpour, moving fast but not recklessly, the kind of speed that suggested purpose rather than panic. The headlights resolved into a shape he recognized even before the vehicle stopped 30 feet away. Mercedes G-Wagon, black G63 AMG edition. If Jack had to guess, which put it somewhere north of $180,000. The kind of vehicle that didn't end up in Vine City at midnight unless the driver had specific business that couldn't wait for daylight or better weather. The engine idled. Rain hammered against its pristine hood. Then 3 doors opened simultaneously. 2 men emerged from the rear passenger seats first. Tall, both easily 6'4", built like they spent 8 hours daily in the gym. Suits that fit too well to be off the rack, probably custom-tailored, probably cost more than Jack's truck. They moved with the precise economy of trained fighters, the kind of posture that screamed military background, except these men hadn't served their country, they'd served whoever paid the most. The driver's door opened last. The man who stepped out made the bodyguards look like window dressing. Mid-40s maybe, tall enough to match them, but leaner, harder, like he'd been carved from something more durable than flesh. Charcoal suit that probably came from Tom Ford or Armani, or one of those designers whose names Jack only knew from passing upscale storefronts on the rare occasions he had business north of Ponce de Leon Avenue. Hair slicked back perfectly despite the rain. Face that belonged in cologne advertisements. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, the kind of calculated handsomeness that came from wealth and grooming and possibly minor cosmetic work. He walked forward with the absolute confidence of someone who'd never been told no, who'd never encountered an obstacle money or influence couldn't remove. His shoes, Oxford's leather gleaming even in rain, barely splashed in puddles. He stopped 10 feet from where Jack knelt beside the woman and looked down at them both with an expression that mixed concern and annoyance in equal measure. When he spoke, his voice was smooth, controlled, dangerous in the way that expensive lawyers and Fortune 500 executives learned to make their voices dangerous. "Step away from her." Jack stayed exactly where he was. "She's injured. She needs medical help." "That's my fiancée. This is a private family matter." Jack glanced down at the woman. She was shaking her head frantically now. Eyes squeezed shut, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks, whole body radiating terror that had nothing to do with her injuries and everything to do with the man standing over them. "Doesn't look like she wants to go with you." The man's jaw tightened. Something flickered behind his eyes, rage maybe, or calculation, or both. "You know what your problem is." He gestured dismissively at Jack with one manicured hand, taking in the work boots, the stained jeans, the flannel shirt plastered to Jack's shoulders, the F-150 idling behind them with its cracked windshield and rusted bumper. "You make judgments about situations you don't understand. This is a private family matter between my fiancé and myself, and you—" The hand swept up and down, indicating Jack's entire existence like it was something distasteful. "You're nobody, a stranger with a savior complex and a pickup truck." Something cold settled in Jack's chest. Not anger. Anger was hot, uncontrolled, the kind of emotion that got Marines killed in combat zones. This was colder, clearer, the same feeling he'd had in Kandahar right before going into buildings where insurgents waited, right before making decisions that would end with people alive or dead depending on whether Jack moved fast enough, thought, smart enough, refused to blink when everything depended on not blinking. Maybe so, but I'm the nobody standing between you and her. Mr. Reynolds, Jack's blood went cold. Not from fear, from the sudden, sharp awareness that something was very, very wrong. This man knew his name. They'd never met. Jack was certain of that, the kind of certain that came from 13 years of military training, where remembering faces meant the difference between identifying friendlies and shooting civilians. He'd never seen this man before tonight. So how did this man know who Jack was? You need to step aside. This is your last warning. I don't take warnings from men who hurt women. The man's face went very still. Behind him, the two bodyguards shifted forward half a step, ready to move on command. Sir, you need to step aside. The first bodyguard's voice came out flat professional, the tone of someone who'd delivered this message dozens of times before and knew exactly how the next 30 seconds would unfold. Jack rose slowly to his feet, keeping his body between the bodyguards and the woman. His bad leg protested the knee that still had shrapnel embedded in tissue. The surgeons couldn't safely remove, that ached whenever weather changed, that would never let him run the way he used to run, never let him swim or bike or compete in the sport he'd trained his entire adult life to master. Not happening. Last chance. I don't take chances from guys who get paid to hurt people. The bodyguard's face twitched. Then he moved. Jack's sidestep, muscle memory from Krav Maga, from 1,000 training sessions on Coronado Island, from actual combat where half a second of hesitation meant dying, and drove his elbow into the man's ribs. Something cracked. The bodyguard grunted, stumbled sideways into a puddle that splashed up around his expensive Italian loafers. The second bodyguard charged in swinging wild, telegraphing the punch so obviously that Jack had time to duck under it, pivot on his good leg, and sweep the man's feet out from under him with a heel kick to the ankle. The bodyguard went down hard, back hitting pavement, with enough force to drive air from his lungs in an explosive gasp. The first bodyguard recovered faster than Jack expected, came in again with more technique, this time guard up, moving like someone with actual training rather than just bulk. They traded 3 quick exchanges, block, counter-strike, block, again before Jack caught the man's wrist mid-punch, twisted it sharply enough to strain the joint, and used the momentum to slam him sideways into the Mercedes. His head bounced off the door panel with a dull metallic thunk. He slid down the vehicle's side, leaving a wet trail on black paint, and sat there with his eyes unfocused. The second bodyguard had made it back to his feet. He came in fast rage, overriding training now, which made him predictable. Jack shifted his weight, caught the man's forward momentum, and redirected it with a judo throw he'd learned during cross-training with Marine Corps martial arts instructors. The bodyguard's feet left the ground. He hit asphalt hard enough that the impact vibrated up through Jack's boots. This time he stayed down, groaning, one hand pressed to his lower back. Jack straightened. His chest heaved. Rain dripped from his hair into his eyes. His knuckles throbbed where they'd connected with the first bodyguard's jaw. His shoulder ached where the second bodyguard had managed to clip him during that initial exchange. But he was standing. They weren't. The man in the expensive suit stood absolutely still. His mask of control had slipped just enough to show genuine surprise beneath the calculated exterior. His eyes moved from his 2 disabled bodyguards to Jack, then fixed on Jack's left forearm, where his flannel sleeve had ridden up to reveal the tattoo he'd gotten the day he graduated from Navy SEAL training. Eagle, globe, anchor, the Marine Corps emblem in stark black ink. "You're a Marine." Jack said nothing. Sometimes silence conveyed more than words. Sometimes letting the other person fill the quiet told you exactly what they were thinking, exactly what they feared, exactly how to anticipate their next move. The man's jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists at his sides. But he didn't advance. Didn't give his bodyguards any order to try again. Just stood there in expensive Italian leather shoes that were getting ruined by rainwater pooling around his feet, staring at Jack and with an expression that promised violence but delivered only calculation. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." His voice shook with barely controlled rage. You think this is over. You think you can just walk away. I will bury you. I'll destroy everything you have. Your Joe, your home, his eyes flicked toward the F-150, toward where Maya's small face pressed against the passenger window, watching everything, taking it all in, with those intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Jack's expression went arctic. Finish that sentence, I dare you. Silence. Just rain hammering against metal and concrete and flesh. The four of them frozen in tableau. Jack, the man in the suit, two bodyguards struggling to their feet. Traffic sounds in the distance. A siren somewhere far away, getting closer or farther, impossible to tell. The man's mouth snapped shut. He stared at Jack for another long moment. Then something shifted in his expression, some internal calculation that resulted in strategic retreat. Get up. He barked the order at his bodyguards without looking at them, without breaking eye contact with Jack. The two men dragged themselves to their feet, moving like elderly versions of themselves, one clutching his ribs, the other favoring his back. The man took 3 steps backward toward his vehicle, paused, turned back to deliver one final message with the casual precision of someone dropping a grenade. Her name is Sophia Ashford, the CEO of Ashford Medical Technologies. Cold smile, dead eyes. When she ruins your life, and she will remember I tried to warn you. He got into the Mercedes. His bodyguards limped after him, getting into the rear seats they'd exited from. The engine purred to life, 8 cylinders of German engineering that cost more than Jack made in 3 years. Then the G-Wagon peeled out, tires screeching on wet pavement, disappearing into rain and darkness, like it had never been there at all. Except it had been there. Jack's throbbing knuckles proved it. The woman on the ground proved it. And the name the man had dropped, Sophia Ashford, that proved something else entirely. Jack knew that name. Everyone in Atlanta knew that name. Ashford Medical Technologies had been founded by her father 30 years ago, had grown into a billion-dollar empire manufacturing advanced prosthetics and medical imaging equipment, had facilities in 15 countries, and employed 12,000 people worldwide. The elder Ashford had died 18 months ago. His daughter had taken over as CEO at 31 years old, making her one of the youngest billionaires in the country, and the subject of countless magazine profiles that talked about her business acumen and her ice queen reputation, and the way she'd never married despite being engaged twice before. And now she was lying on wet pavement in Vine City with a broken ankle and a head wound, and absolute terror in her eyes. Jack turned back to her, knelt down again, slower this time, giving her space to process what she'd just witnessed. They're gone. You're safe. She was staring at him, face pale, eyes wide, expressions cycling through shock and disbelief and something that looked almost like wonder. You fought them, for me. You don't even know me. Jack kept his voice gentle. Doesn't matter. You needed help. That's enough. Tears spilled down her cheeks, mixing with rain and blood and mascara that had run in black streaks across her skin. Why, Jack had spent 13 years in the military, had watched friends die, had killed people who needed killing, and watched others kill people who didn't. Had learned that the world was complicated and cruel and fundamentally unfair, that good people died while bad people prospered, that justice was an ideal rather than a reality. But sometimes, not often, but sometimes the right thing was also the simple thing, because it's the right thing to do. He slid one arm under her shoulders, the other beneath her knees, and lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected, maybe 110 pounds soaking wet, which she literally was. She winced when her broken ankle shifted, biting back a cry that came out as a whimper instead. I got you, I got you. The passenger door of the F-150 swung open. Maya had unlocked it. His daughter leaned out, rain immediately soaking her braids, eyes huge in her face. Daddy, you were so cool. You knocked them down like superheroes do. Maya, baby, not now. Jack eased Sophia into the passenger seat as gently as possible. She clutched a small purse Hermes Kelly bag, burnt orange leather, that probably cost $15,000 before you factored in the platinum clasp, like it was the only solid thing in a world that had become fundamentally unmoored. Maya scrambled into the back seat, pressing herself forward against her seatbelt to see the woman better. Hi, I'm Maya. Don't be scared, okay? My daddy's really strong. He'll keep you safe. Sophia looked at the 8-year-old. Something in her expression cracked, not broke, but cracked like ice beginning to thaw after a long winter. She tried to smile. It came out broken, but it was there. Thank you. The word came out barely louder than the rain. Jack closed the passenger door, walked around to the driver's side, got in, started the engine, cranked the heat up as far as it would go, pulled back onto Martin Luther King Jr. Drive heading home because hospitals meant police reports, meant questions, meant the man in the Mercedes, whoever he was, would know exactly where to find Sophia Ashford before morning. We're going to the hospital. Sophia's hand shot out, grabbed his arm with surprising strength given her condition. Panic spiked in her voice. No, no hospitals, please. They'll find me there. They'll make me. Ma'am, your ankle's broken. You need a doctor. I can't. Her breathing quickened, heading toward hyperventilation. Please, I'm begging you, just somewhere safe. Anywhere but a hospital. Jack glanced at her, took in the terror in her eyes, the way her whole body trembled, the desperate edge to her voice. He'd seen that look before. Baghdad, Fallujah. On the faces of people who'd been hunted, who knew exactly what happened when they got caught, who would rather die than go back to whatever they'd escaped from. He let out a long breath. All right, my place. It's not much, but it's safe. I was a corpsman in the service. I can patch you up. But if you get worse, if there's infection or complications, we're going to a hospital. Deal. She nodded, sagging back against the seat. Deal. Maya reached forward from her booster seat and placed one small hand on Sophia's shoulder. It's okay, you're with us now. Sophia closed her eyes. For the first time since Jack had found her, she stopped shaking. The building looked like it had given up decades ago, cracked concrete steps leading to a front entrance with peeling green paint. Buzzers beside the door that hadn't worked since the Clinton administration. Parking lot potholed badly enough that Jack had to navigate around the worst craters. Second floor walk-up, which meant stairs, which meant Sophia's broken ankle was about to become significantly more painful. Jack pulled into his assigned spot number 2B beneath a light that flickered epileptically. Killed the engine. Sat there for a moment while rain continued to drum against metal. We're here. Sophia opened her eyes. She'd kept them closed during the entire drive, either from pain or exhaustion, or the desperate need to pretend this was all a nightmare she might wake from. Now she looked at the building, really looked at it, and her expression went through several rapid changes. Not disappointment, not disgust, something softer, something that looked almost like relief. This is where you live. Second floor. It's not the Ritz, but the heat works. Roof doesn't leak most of the time. He came around to her door, opened it carefully. I'm going to carry you again. Stairs are going to be rough on that ankle. This time when he lifted her, she didn't stiffen. Didn't pull away. Just let her head rest against his shoulder, like she was too tired to hold it up anymore. Like the adrenaline that had kept her moving was finally burning off and leaving nothing but exhaustion in its wake. The stairwell smelled like curry and bleach. Someone on the first floor was playing music, reggaeton bass thumping through thin walls. Jack took the steps slowly, mindful of his bad knee, mindful of Sophia's broken ankle, mindful of Maya following behind with Sophia's purse clutched in both hands. Almost there. Second floor, third door on the left. Maya was already pulling the keys from Jack's pocket. They'd done this dance 100 times the routine of late-night arrivals, after long shifts, after Jack was too tired to fumble for keys himself. She unlocked the door, pushed it open, stepped aside. Welcome to Casa Reynolds. 680 square feet. Living room and kitchen in open layout. 2 tiny bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Walls covered in Maya's drawings, families holding hands, rainbows, flowers with smiling faces. Furniture from Goodwill and scrap wood. Small TV on a milk crate. Everything clean, organized, loved, despite having almost nothing. Sophia's eyes swept the space as Jack carried her to the couch. In her world, custom furniture worth tens of thousands. Marble and hardwood. The kind of luxury that came from generational wealth. Here, hand-drawn pictures taped with Scotch tape. Furniture held together with hope. But when Jack settled her onto the couch, when Maya immediately climbed up beside her and started explaining about Mr. Hopscotch the rabbit, something shifted in Sophia's expression. Something that looked like peace. Maya, go get the first aid kit, red box under the bathroom sink. Okay. His daughter scrambled off, leaving Jack kneeling in front of Sophia with careful distance. I need to look at your ankle and that cut on your forehead. Is that okay? She nodded, hands gripping the couch edge. I'm going to be straight with you. I can stabilize your ankle, clean your wounds, give you something for pain. But I'm not a doctor. Not anymore. If things get worse, infections, swelling complications, we go to a hospital. No arguments. Okay. I need you to trust me for the next few minutes. It's going to hurt. I'll go as fast as I can. She met his eyes, held his gaze with an intensity that suggested she was making some kind of decision, weighing risk against necessity, control against vulnerability. I trust you. Those three words landed heavier than they should have. Landed with a weight that Jack felt in his chest in the space where grief lived, where Rebecca's absence still carved out pieces of him 3 years after her funeral. Maya returned with the red tackle box, Jack's medical kit from his Marine days. Gauze, antiseptic, elastic bandages, butterfly closures, basic pain medication. The kind of supplies you maintained when you couldn't afford emergency room visits, when a child with type 1 diabetes meant choosing between insulin and other medical care. He worked methodically. Cleaned the forehead wound first, shallow wouldn't need stitches, just butterfly closures to hold skin together. Applied antiseptic that made Sophia hiss through her teeth. Covered it with gauze. Then her ankle. He removed her remaining shoe, Louboutin pump, blood-stained, $1,200 reduced to garbage. The ankle was swollen to twice its normal size. Deep purple spreading up her calf. The angle was wrong, bone pressing against skin in a way that made his combat medic training scream compound fracture, a potential compartment syndrome needs surgical intervention immediately. This is definitely broken. I'm going to stabilize it, but you really need an x-ray. Probably need surgery. Later. The word came out through gritted teeth. Please, just make it stop hurting. He wrapped the ankle carefully, firmly immobilizing it as much as possible with splint and elastic bandages. Sophia bit her lower lip so hard it went white. Didn't make a sound except for breathing that came harsh through her nose. When he finished, Jack sat back on his heels. Done, best I can do without a hospital. Thank you. He stood, went to the kitchen, returned with water and 2 white pills. Ibuprofen. It'll help with pain and swelling. She took them, washing both down in one long gulp, closed her eyes, leaned back like someone had cut her strings. Jack grabbed a clean towel, draped it over her shoulders. She was still damp from rain, shivering despite the apartment's warmth. I'll get you something dry to wear. But first, are you hungry? When's the last time you ate? Sophia opened her eyes, stared at him like the question was delivered in a foreign language. I don't remember. Right, I'll make you something. You don't have to. I know I don't have to, but you're here. You're hurt. And you need food. So when I'm making you something. He said it matter-of-factly, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Maya had settled beside Sophia again this time with her box of crayons in fresh paper. What are you drawing, sweetheart? Us. Maya held up the paper. 3 stick figures, one tall with broad shoulders, one small with pigtails, one with long yellow hair, all holding hands in front of a simple house with a triangle roof. This is you and Daddy and me. Sophia's breath caught, her eyes filled with tears that had nothing to do with physical pain and everything to do with something breaking open inside her chest, some wall she'd built that was suddenly cracking under pressure it hadn't been designed to withstand. That's beautiful, Maya. You can keep it, to remember that you're not alone anymore. And that's when Sophia broke. Really broke. Not the desperate fear from earlier, not the pain-induced whimpers when Jack wrapped her ankle. This was deeper, older. The kind of grief that came from years of isolation, from building walls so high, you forgot what it felt like to be touched, to be seen to matter to someone, for reasons that had nothing to do with your bank account or your business acumen or the empire you'd inherited. She pulled Maya into a hug and cried. Really cried. The kind of tears that came from the center of your chest and hurt on the way out because they'd been trapped there so long. They'd calcified, turned sharp, needed force to dislodge. Maya hugged her back fierce, certain the way only children could hug, without reservation or calculation or any awareness that the woman sobbing into her shoulder was worth $1.8 billion and controlled a company that employed thousands and had just lost everything except the clothes on her back and a purse she clutched like a lifeline. Jack stood in the kitchen and watched them. Something tightened in his chest. Not pain exactly, but adjacent to pain, the kind of feeling that came when you realized the world was more complicated than you wanted it to be. That suffering didn't respect wealth or status or any of the artificial barriers humans erected between themselves. That sometimes helping someone was simple, even when everything else about their situation was impossibly tangled. He made scrambled eggs and toast, cut up an apple, arranged it all on a plate that didn't match any of their other plates because nothing in this apartment matched anything else, a collection of secondhand items assembled over 3 years of poverty that had taught Jack exactly how little you actually needed to survive. When he brought the plate to Sophia, she'd stopped crying, sat there with red eyes and mascara streaked down her cheeks, and Maya tucked against her side, both of them looking at the drawing Maya had made. Eat, you'll feel better. Sophia took the plate with trembling hands, stared at it like she'd never seen food before. When's the last time someone cooked for you? Jack watched her face cycle through confusion, then understanding, then something that looked almost like grief. I, I can't remember. She picked up the fork, took a bite of scrambled eggs, chewed slowly, swallowed. And the expression that crossed her face wonder surprise, something close to joy, made Jack realize that being worth nearly $2 billion apparently meant you'd forgotten what it felt like to eat food made by someone who cared whether you ate at all. This is really good. It's eggs and toast. I know, it's perfect. She ate slowly. Every bite seemed to cost her something, seemed to require more energy than she had available. But she finished most of it, left only the crust from the toast, because Maya had started talking about school and Mr. Hopscotch and how her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had said Maya's painting of the ocean was so good it should be in a museum. By the time the plate was empty, Sophia looked like she might fall asleep sitting up. Her eyes kept drifting closed, snapping open again with visible effort. Jack took the plate back to the kitchen, returned with sweatpants and a t-shirt. Rebecca's clothes kept in a box at the back of his closet because he couldn't bring himself to donate them, because Maya sometimes asked to smell them and remember how her mother used to smell like vanilla and permanent markers. These were my wife's. She passed away 3 years ago. Sophia took the clothes like they were sacred artifacts. I'm so sorry. Yeah, me too. He pointed toward the bathroom. Take your time. Yell if you need help. She limped there, using the wall for support, her broken ankle barely touching the ground. The bathroom door closed. Water ran. Minutes passed. Jack made up the couch with clean sheets and a blanket, fluffed the pillow, set a glass of water on the coffee table he'd built, along with 2 more ibuprofen for when she woke in pain during the night. When Sophia emerged, she was wearing Rebecca's clothes, gray sweatpants, 3 sizes too big, an old Atlanta Falcons t-shirt faded from years of washing. Her wet hair hung loose around her shoulders. She'd scrubbed the mascara from her face, revealing freckles she usually covered with makeup, and the kind of natural beauty that existed independent of cosmetics or styling or any of the artificial enhancements wealth could buy. She looked younger, vulnerable, real in a way that billion-dollar CEO profiles never captured. You take the couch tonight. I'll be in the chair if you need anything. I can't take your bed. You're not. Maya's got the bedroom. I sleep out here most nights anyway. He gestured to the worn recliner in the corner. Old habit from the core. Light sleeper. Easier to hear if something's wrong. Sophia lowered herself onto the couch, slowly wincing when her ankle protested. Once she was settled, Jack turned off the overhead light, leaving just a small lamp on in the corner that cast everything in warm amber. Good night, Sophia. Good night, Jack. She lay there in the darkness listening, the hum of the refrigerator that cycled on and off, distant sirens outside, a door slamming somewhere on the first floor, the quiet creak of Jack settling into the recliner, his breathing evening out, but never quite reaching the deep rhythm of actual sleep, because he'd told the truth. He was a light sleeper trained by combat to wake at anything unusual, to assess threats before they became lethal. And for the first time in months, maybe years, Sophia felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Small and fragile and probably foolish, given that she was lying on a stranger's couch with a broken ankle and a conspiracy that wanted her dead or controlled or destroyed. But hope nonetheless. Somewhere in the darkness her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. She pulled it from her purse, screen cracked but still functional. 12 missed calls, 27 text messages, all from Ethan. She didn't read them, didn't need to. She already knew what they'd say. Threats dressed as concern, promises wrapped in manipulation. The same pattern he'd used for 3 years, the same tools that had almost worked, that would have worked if she hadn't found that email, if she hadn't seen the conspiracy laid out in black and white, if she hadn't realized that the man she'd planned to marry was systematically destroying her from the inside out. She powered the phone off, shoved it back in her purse. Tomorrow would bring its own problems. Tomorrow she'd have to figure out what came next, how to survive, when the man who wanted to control her knew her name and Jack's name and probably already knew they were here, already had people watching, already had plans within plans that Sophia couldn't predict because Ethan had always been 3 moves ahead. But tonight, just for tonight, she let herself believe that maybe she'd found something rare. Not salvation, not rescue in the fairy tale sense. Just a man who'd done the right thing because it was right, and a little girl who drew pictures of families that included strangers and an apartment that felt more like home than her $4 million penthouse ever had. Outside, rain continued to fall. Atlanta slept. And in apartment 2B, 3 people who'd been strangers 12 hours ago settled into an uneasy peace that wouldn't last but mattered anyway. Mattered because sometimes the right thing and the simple thing were the same thing, and that was rare enough to be worth protecting for as long as possible, which, as it turned out, would be exactly 18 hours before everything fell apart again. Sophia woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking. For 3 disoriented seconds, she forgot where she was, forgot the rain, forgot Ethan, forgot the terror of marble stairs and broken bones. Then her ankle sent up a sharp reminder, and everything came flooding back. Morning light filtered through thin curtains. Maya's crayon drawing seemed brighter in daylight, more alive than anything in Sophia's penthouse had ever been. A sound from the kitchen, dishes clinking, water running. Jack stood at the stove, dish towel over one shoulder, flipping something in a pan. He changed into fresh jeans and a gray Henley that stretched across shoulders built from years of manual labor. His hair was still damp from a shower. He glanced over, caught her watching. "Morning, how's the ankle?" "Hurts, but better than last night." "Good, that's good." He grabbed a chipped ceramic mug, filled it with coffee from a pot that looked older than Maya brought it to her. Black, strong, sugar's on the table if you need it. Sophia took the mug in both hands. The heat felt good against her palms. She sipped. Bitter, yes. Strong enough to strip paint, definitely. But real coffee made by actual hands. "Thank you." From the kitchen, Maya's voice piped up. "I made muffins." "Well, Daddy helped with the oven part, but I did all the mixing myself." The 8-year-old appeared face-dusted with flower braids coming loose. She carried a plate with 2 slightly lopsided blueberry muffins that leaned at improbable angles. "They look wonderful." Sophia meant it. Maya beamed, set the plate on the coffee table, then climbed onto the couch beside Sophia with casual intimacy. They ate in comfortable silence. The muffins were actually good sweet, but not too sweet blueberries bursting against Sophia's tongue, the kind of simple pleasure she'd forgotten existed. After a few minutes, Jack settled into the recliner. His eyes never quite left Sophia, assessing her the way he'd assessed her last night, looking for signs of deterioration complications. Finally, he spoke, voice careful, measured. "Look, I know it's not my business, but if someone's looking for you, if you're in danger, I need to know what we're dealing with. For Maya's sake, if nothing else." The words hung in the air. Sophia set down her coffee. Her hands trembled slightly. She folded them to hide it. "You're right. You deserve to know." She took a breath. "The man from last night, his name is Ethan Cross. He was supposed to be my fiancé. Vice President of Business Development at Ashford Medical." Jack's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. 3 days ago, I found an email on his phone, by accident. The memory felt distant now, like it had happened to someone else, but the details were still sharp. I wasn't snooping. He'd asked me to check something while he was in the shower. His phone was unlocked. I saw my name, so I opened it. Her voice went flat, clinical. "Plans, contracts, communications with 5 members of my board, a detailed scheme to force me out and take over Ashford Medical. They were going to steal it." "Not steal. That would be too obvious." Sophia's hands clenched. They were going to use the marriage. Have me sign over controlling interest as part of our unified business strategy. Make it look voluntary. Once the papers were signed, Ethan would become CEO. I'd be moved to a figurehead role, something with a title and no actual power. She laughed. The sound came out bitter. I was so stupid. 3 years, I thought he loved me. You're not stupid for trusting someone. Jack's voice was gentle. No judgment. I should have known better. My father warned me before he died. Said, be careful who you let close. In our world, everyone wants something. I thought he was just bitter. I thought Ethan was different. Maya had stopped eating her muffin, was watching Sophia with those two intelligent eyes. What happened after you found the email? Small voice. Careful question. Sophia glanced at the child, then back at Jack. Ethan came home, found me with his phone. He knew immediately. The memory played behind her eyes. He didn't even try to deny it, just smiled, said it didn't matter because I was going to sign the papers anyway. Her voice started to shake. She forced it steady. I said no, told him I'd expose everything. Good. Jack's single word carried weight. Support without agenda. The next day, emergency board meeting. When I walked into the conference room, all 12 members were there. Ethan had the transfer documents ready, printed, highlighted where I needed to sign. Sophia's hands were shaking again. He said I could sign voluntarily or they'd remove me by force, declare me mentally unfit. They had a psychiatrist ready. 5 board members were in on it. The other 7, he said they'd vote however he told them because he had leverage, information, threats. Maya had set down her muffin entirely, was holding Mr. Hopscotch tight. I refused, stood up to leave, and Ethan, Sophia touched the bandage on her forehead, grabbed my arm, hard enough to bruise. I tried to pull away and he shoved me. I was wearing heels. My ankle caught. I tripped backward. The fall felt like it was happening again. Slow motion, 10 marble steps from the conference room down to the executive suite. I felt my ankle snap on the 3rd step. Heard it. This wet cracking sound. Maya made a small noise. Distress, empathy. The board just stood there, watching. Not one person helped. They just stared. Sophia's eyes were distant now. Ethan came down the stairs, stood over me. I was lying there with my ankle bent wrong and blood in my eyes, and he smiled. This cold, empty smile, and said, sign the papers or I'll make sure you never walk out of this building. The room was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I crawled to the back exit. I don't know how long it took, but I made it outside, into an alley. I couldn't go any further, just collapsed there. She looked at Jack. Then his security team showed up, started carrying me back. I tried to fight. Then I saw headlights. Your truck. I stumbled into the street, and then you were there. Maya had started crying, silent tears. She scooted closer to Sophia. Jack's jaw was tight, knuckles white around his coffee mug. Those photos you took, do you still have them? Sophia reached for her purse, pulled out her phone, 6 images, emails printed and photographed. She handed the phone to Jack. He scrolled through slowly. His expression didn't change except for a slight tightening around his eyes. This isn't enough. Sophia's stomach dropped. What? 6 photos. It's a start, but it's not enough to take down an entire conspiracy. They'll claim the emails were taken out of context, that you misunderstood, that you were mentally unstable, which is exactly what they're already claiming. He handed the phone back. But if we can get into your company's servers, pull the full communications, all the contracts, the money trails, that's enough. That's evidence a prosecutor can actually use. Sophia's mind started turning. I can't just walk into the building. Ethan will have security watching. No, but you can access the network remotely. You're still CEO. You still have credentials. The system has multiple security protocols. Even with my credentials, they'll be able to trace any access. Then we find someone who knows how to get around that. Jack leaned forward. I know a guy, Tyler. We served together. He does cybersecurity now. Freelance. If anyone can help us get that information without leaving traces, it's him. Hope flickered in Sophia's chest. Small, fragile. Why? Jack looked confused. Why what? Why are you doing this? She gestured around. You already saved my life, gave me shelter, food, medical care. You don't owe me anything. So why help me fight this fight? Jack set down his coffee mug. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but absolutely certain. You remember I said I was a corpsman, Sophia nodded. 4 years ago, about 6 months after Rebecca died, there was a fire. Small house in East Atlanta. I was driving home from a night shift. Saw smoke, heard screaming. His eyes went distant. Woman trapped on the second floor. Elderly, maybe 75. Fire department hadn't arrived yet. I went in. Maya had stopped crying, was watching her father. Found her in the bedroom, smoke inhalation, already unconscious. I carried her out, started CPR while someone called 911. Jack's hands clenched. She died in the ambulance, too much smoke in her lungs. Jack, I'm so... Her name was Mrs. Patterson, lived alone. No family. The fire was ruled arson. Landlord wanted her out so he could sell the building. Paid someone to torch it. Sophia's breath caught. The landlord had money, good lawyers, connected to people in city government. Case got buried. Witnesses changed stories. Evidence disappeared. He walked away. Sold the building 6 months later for $3 million. Jack looked up, met Sophia's eyes. I couldn't save her, and I couldn't get her justice. That's something I live with every day, every time I drive past that empty lot. Every time I think about how money bought him a different set of rules. He leaned forward. But you're here, you're alive, and you have evidence. So yeah, I'm going to help you, because maybe this time the person with power doesn't get to just walk away. Maybe this time justice actually means something. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Maya spoke, voice small but determined. My daddy is a hero, even when he doesn't think he is. Sophia looked at the 8-year-old, then back at Jack. Something in her chest, something that had been locked tight for years, began to crack. Okay, let's do it. Let's get the evidence. Jack nodded once. I'll call Tyler, see if he can come over this afternoon. He stood, pulled out his phone, started to dial. Then his phone rang. Different number. Unknown caller. Jack's expression went wary. He answered. Put it on speaker. Mr. Reynolds, this is Gerald Hawthorne. I represent Ethan Cross and Ashford Medical Technologies. The voice was smooth, cultured. We're aware that Miss Ashford is staying with you. We have a court order requiring her to appear before the board of directors immediately. Jack's jaw clenched. Send it in writing. We're prepared to do more than that, Mr. Reynolds. A pause. Calculated. We're also prepared to contact Child Protective Services. Concerns have been raised about your living situation. A man harboring a fugitive from a psychiatric evaluation, keeping his diabetic daughter in a potentially dangerous environment. These are matters CPS takes very seriously. Sophia's blood went cold. She looked at Maya. Jack's hand tightened on his phone, but his voice stayed calm. Ms. Ashford is not a fugitive. She's here voluntarily. And if you threaten my daughter again, I'll add witness intimidation to the list of charges you're going to face. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Mr. Reynolds. 9 a.m., Ashford Medical Headquarters. Don't be late. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen, eyes wide. Mr. Hopscotch clutched against her chest. Daddy, are they going to take me away? Jack crossed to her in 3 steps, pulled her into a hug. Oh, no, baby. That's not going to happen, I promise. But over Maya's head, Sophia saw his expression. Saw the fear there. Sophia stood. Her ankle screamed protest. She limped toward the door, toward her purse. What are you doing? Jack's voice, sharp. I have to go. Sophia grabbed her purse. I'm not letting him hurt you. Hurt Maya. I'll turn myself in. Deal with Ethan. It doesn't matter. The hell it doesn't. Jack released Maya, crossed to Sophia in 2 steps. You think I let you stay here just to hand you back to the man who tried to kill you? He'll destroy you. You heard him. CPS, everything. And Maya, her voice broke. I can't be the reason you lose your daughter. You're not. Jack's voice was steel. Ethan Cross is the reason. Men like him are always the reason. They threaten and manipulate because they've never been stopped. Because everyone always backs down. I'm trying to protect you. And I'm trying to protect you. They stood there, 2 feet apart, both breathing hard. We're at a standoff? Sophia almost laughed. But here's the thing. Jack's voice softened slightly. We're stronger together. You know that, right? Whatever Ethan throws at us, we have a better chance facing it together. What if something happens to Maya because of me? Nothing's going to happen to Maya. But even as he said it, doubt flickered across his face. I've already called a lawyer. Diana Reeves, friend from the service, JAG Corps. She'll be here this afternoon with Tyler. If CPS shows up, we'll be ready. And if they take her anyway, they won't. Jack's certainty felt like armor. Thin armor, but armor nonetheless. You don't know that. No, but I know that running doesn't fix anything. I know that men like Ethan rely on people being too scared to fight back. And I know, he paused, took a breath, that somewhere along the way this stopped being about justice. It started being about you, about the fact that you matter. To me, to Maya, you matter. The words hung in the air between them, heavy, true in ways that scared Sophia. You don't have to say anything. Jack's voice was gentle. I know this is complicated. I know we barely know each other. But I need you to know you're not just some stranger I helped. You're more than that. Sophia couldn't speak. Maya appeared beside them, took Sophia's hand in one of hers, Jack's hand in the other. We're a family now. That's what Mama used to say. Families protect each other. And that broke something in Sophia, some final wall. She pulled Maya into a hug, then reached for Jack, and suddenly they were all standing there holding on to each other like they could prevent the world from tearing them apart through sheer stubborn will. Outside, Atlanta kept moving. Inside apartment 2B, 3 people who shouldn't have found each other made a decision that would either save them all or destroy them completely. Either way, they'd face it together. Part 3, the evidence. Tyler Washington arrived at exactly 2:00 p.m. Jack opened the door before Tyler could knock. They stood there for 3 seconds doing that wordless assessment men who'd served together always did. Jack. Ty. They clasped hands. Brief hug. Tyler stepped inside. 38 years old, lean and wiry. Left leg prosthetic from mid-thigh down, carbon fiber blade visible below his jeans. Laptop bag over one shoulder. Eyes sharp as they swept the apartment before settling on Sophia. Ms. Ashford, heard you've got quite a situation. His voice carried the flat drawl of rural Georgia. That's understating it. Sophia tried to smile. It came out shaky. Tyler crossed to the dining table and set down his laptop bag. The laptop he pulled out looked like it had survived multiple wars, scuffed, dented, held together with electrical tape. But when he powered it on the screen, glowed with serious processing power. All right, I'll need your login credentials, access codes, anything that gets us into Ashford Medical's network. Sophia rattled off usernames and passwords. Tyler's fingers flew across the keyboard, touch typing, at speeds that made the keys sound like rainfall code scrolling across his screen. After 5 minutes, Tyler leaned back. Okay, you've still got executive access. That's good, but they've changed some security protocols since you went missing, probably trying to lock you out. Can you get around it? Can I? Tyler looked up with a grin. Lady, I cracked Taliban encrypted communications using equipment held together with duct tape while people were actively shooting at me. Corporate firewalls are child's play. His fingers moved faster. There we go. I'm in. He spun the laptop around. What are we looking for? Email correspondence between Ethan Cross and the board members. She pulled out her phone, showed him the 6 images. Tyler studied them carefully. His expression darkened with each successive photo. These people are real pieces of work. Understatement delivered flatly. Tyler turned back to his laptop. All right, downloading the entire email server for the past 4 years. Gonna take a few hours, but we'll have everything. Won't they notice? Not if I route the traffic through 15 proxy servers across 6 countries, bounce it off a satellite uplink in Kazakhstan, and make it look like routine system maintenance from an IP address registered to a server farm in Iceland that technically doesn't exist. Tyler's fingers never stopped moving. By the time they trace it, if they trace it, the trail will be so cold they'll think it was a ghost in the machine. Jack had been standing by the window, Now he moved to the table. How long until you have enough for Diana to use? Diana Reeves Jagcor. Diana. Tyler glanced up. She's involved. Coming by at 4, bringing legal strategy. Good, she's scary. In a good way. The kind of scary that makes opposing counsel wet themselves. He turned back to his screen. Should have preliminary evidence in about 45 minutes. Full download by 6, then I'll compile it into something a prosecutor can actually use. The apartment fell into focused silence. Tyler working, Jack keeping watch. Maya coloring at the other end of the table. Sophia sat on the couch trying not to think about what would happen if this didn't work. Her phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. She looked at the screen. 17 new messages, all from Ethan. Against her better judgment, she opened them. Ethan. Sophia, please, you're not thinking clearly. Ethan. I'm worried about you. Let me help. Ethan. The board is concerned. We just want to make sure you're safe. Ethan. This is getting out of hand. That man you're with, do you even know who he is? Ethan Jackson Reynolds. Disgraced former Navy SEAL. Couldn't make it in the military. Can't hold a real job. Living in poverty with a sick daughter he can barely afford to care for. Ethan. Is that really who you want to trust with your life? Sophia felt sick, not because Ethan's words had truth, she'd seen Jack's character, but because Ethan had researched Jack. New details, was already building a narrative. She kept reading. Ethan, think about what you're doing to him, to his daughter. CPS takes these situations seriously. Do you really want to be responsible for a child being taken from her father, Ethan? Come home, Sophia. We can work this out. I love you. I've always loved you. Ethan, last chance, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Ashford Medical Headquarters. Or I make one phone call and that little girl loses everything. Sophia's hands were shaking. She set the phone down. Jack noticed, crossed to her. What is it? She showed him the messages. Watched his jaw tighten. Watched something cold settle behind his eyes. He's bluffing. But Jack's voice carried less certainty than his words suggested. You don't know that? No, but I know Diana's good. I know we have evidence. And I know that men like Ethan rely on fear more than actual power. He has actual power, though. Money. Connections. Got something. Tyler's voice cut through Sophia's rising panic. They both turned to him. You're going to want to see this. They crowded around the laptop. Tyler pulled up an email chain. Date stamp from 3 years ago, October 15th. To Richard Bennett, CFO from Ethan Cross. Subject phase 1, complete. Tyler read aloud, the engagement is secured. Sophia agreed to marry me last night. She's completely convinced this is real. Once we're married, we'll have her sign the transfer documents as part of our unified business strategy presentation to the board. She trusts me completely. It's actually pathetic how easy this has been. Sophia felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. 3 years ago, the night Ethan proposed. She'd been so happy. There's more. Tyler scrolled down. Once she signs the transfer documents, we move immediately. She'll be removed from all operational decision-making. Richard, you'll need to have the psychiatric evaluation ready. Dr. Morrison has agreed to provide whatever diagnosis we need. Cost is $50,000 plus a position on our medical advisory board once the transition is complete. The other board members are on board, except for Margaret Collins. She's the only risk, but she's 73 and ready to retire. Offering her $5 million to step down gracefully. If she refuses, we use the information about her son's embezzlement from his law firm. She'll cooperate. Tyler kept scrolling. More emails, more evidence. A conspiracy laid out in meticulous detail across 4 years. Contracts with offshore accounts. Shell corporations in the Cayman Islands. Financial projections showing how Ethan and his co-conspirators plan to liquidate Ashford Medical's assets over 5 years, pocket $250 million, then sell what remained to a Chinese manufacturing conglomerate, Sophia's father's company. 3 decades of work, 12,000 employees worldwide, all of it being systematically dismantled for personal profit. This is, her voice shook, this is criminal fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, all of it. Tyler copied files to an external hard drive, and we've got it all. Every email, every document, every transaction. This is enough to bury them. How long until you have everything? Another 90 minutes for the full download. But what we have right now are already enough for criminal charges. A knock at the door. Sharp. Professional. 3 precise raps. Jack moved to the window first. Checked. Relaxed slightly. Diana. He opened the door. Captain Diana Reeves walked in like she owned whatever space she occupied. 44 years old, 5'9", black woman with close-cropped, natural hair and eyes that missed absolutely nothing. Navy suit from Brooks Brothers. Leather briefcase. The kind of presence that made opposing counsel reconsider their entire litigation strategy. She'd prosecuted war crimes. Court-martialed officers who'd thought rank made them untouchable. Jack, her voice was warm but professional. Diana, thanks for coming. You said child welfare threat. I came. Simple. Direct. Her eyes found Sophia. Ms. Ashford, I'm Diana Reeves, former JAG Corps, currently practicing civil and criminal law. Jack gave me the basics. Let's talk strategy. She set her briefcase on the table next to Tyler's laptop, pulled out a legal pad, a tablet, recording device. First, do I have your permission to record this conversation? Yes. Good. Second, are you currently under any psychiatric care or taking any medications that might affect your capacity to make legal decisions? No. A third, are you here of your own free will or has anyone coerced you into staying? My own free will. Completely. Diana made notes. Efficient. Thorough. All right, here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., you will appear at Ashford Medical Headquarters as requested, but you won't be alone. I'll be with you. Jack will be outside the building with Maya somewhere safe. She looked at Jack. Not in the building. Too much risk, but close enough if things go wrong. Back to Sophia. We'll walk into that boardroom. We'll present the evidence Tyler's compiled. We'll give them exactly one opportunity to resign quietly before we release everything to the SEC, FBI, and every major news outlet in the country. And if they refuse, then we bury them. Diana's voice was ice. I've already drafted criminal complaints, civil suits, emergency injunctions. The moment they refuse, we file everything simultaneously. They'll be in handcuffs before lunch. What about the CPS threat? This from Jack, voice tight with controlled fear. Already handled. I've filed preemptive documentation with the state. Character references from Maya's school doctor neighbors. Financial records showing you're current on all bills, including medical expenses. Evidence of stable home environment. If CPS shows up, which they won't because this is a harassment tactic, they'll find a file that makes you look like Father of the Year. Jack's shoulders relaxed fractionally. What about Ethan? He's got connections. Police, judges, had connections. Diana's smile was sharp. Past tense, because I've spent the last 4 hours making phone calls. Colleagues from my JAG days, federal prosecutors who owe me favors, journalists who love stories about corporate corruption. By tomorrow morning, Ethan Cross will be the most watched man in Georgia. Everything he does will have witnesses. Everything he says will be recorded. He moves wrong, he's done. She pulled out her tablet, showed them a document. This is our timeline. 8 a.m. tomorrow, we release a press statement. Sophia Ashford to address board regarding financial irregularities at Ashford Medical. Nothing specific, just enough to get media attention. They'll be camped outside the building. 8:45 we arrive. Walk right through the press gauntlet. You look confident, professional, like someone who's about to drop a bomb. 9 a.m. boardroom. I'll do the talking initially. Lay out the legal framework. Then you present evidence, Tyler's compilation, every email, every contract, every transaction. 9:15 if they haven't started resigning by then, I make 3 phone calls. FBI, SEC, Wall Street Journal. Simultaneous. 9:30 federal agents arrive with warrants. Diana closed the tablet. 9:45 Ethan Cross is under arrest. The apartment was silent except for Tyler's laptop fan and Maya's crayons scratching against paper. Finally, Sophia spoke. What if something goes wrong? Wrong how? What if Ethan tries something before we get there? She couldn't finish the sentence. Diana's expression softened slightly. Then we adapt. That's what we do. But Sophia, you need to understand something. Men like Ethan rely on you being too scared to fight back. They rely on you believing they're more powerful than they actually are. The moment you stand up, the moment you bring evidence and witnesses and legal authority, their power evaporates. I've seen it 100 times. Officers who thought rank made them untouchable. Commanders who thought they could abuse their authority. Every single one of them folded the moment someone actually challenged them. She leaned forward. You're not powerless. You never were. You just didn't know it yet. Sophia wanted to believe that. Jack must have seen the doubt on her face because he moved to sit beside her. Not touching, just present. You already did the hardest part. You said no. You escaped. You survived. Everything else is just finishing what you started. What if I'm not strong enough? You are. Simple certainty. Maya appeared at Sophia's other side, climbed onto the couch, held up her drawing. I made this for you. The picture showed 4 figures now instead of 3. Jack, Maya, Sophia, and a new figure in what looked like a superhero cape and a very fierce expression. That's Ms. Diana. She's going to help us fight the bad guys. Despite everything, Sophia laughed. Real laughter. It's perfect. She pulled Maya into a hug. Tyler stood from the laptop. Got everything. 4 years of emails, 47 contracts, financial records showing $180 million already embezzled through various shell companies. Security footage of Ethan and Richard physically removing hard drives from the server room 3 nights ago. He ejected the hard drive, handed it to Diana. This is copy 1. I've got 2 more in secure locations. Cloud backup encrypted 6 ways. Even if something happens to all the physical copies, the evidence still exists. Diana took the drive, slipped it into her briefcase. Good. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. She looked at Sophia. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow, you're going to war. You'll need to be sharp. After Diana left promising to return at 7 a.m. for final preparation, the apartment settled into an uneasy calm. Tyler packed up his equipment but stayed drinking coffee at the kitchen table and talking with Jack in low voices about contingency plans. Maya had fallen asleep on the couch, Mr. Hopscotch tucked under one arm. Jack carried her to bed with practiced ease, came back and found Sophia standing at the window staring out at the parking lot where streetlights cast orange pools on cracked asphalt. You okay? Sophia turned. Jack stood in the doorway backlit by kitchen light. I don't know. Ask me tomorrow. He crossed to her, stood close enough that she could feel his presence. For what it's worth, I think you're braver than you realize. I don't feel brave. I feel terrified. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Jack's voice was gentle. Bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. Sophia looked up at him, really looked, saw the scars on his knuckles from last night's fight, the lines around his eyes from 3 years of single parenthood and poverty, the way he held himself, that military bearing that never quite went away. Why do you care, really? We met yesterday. You could have driven, pal. But I didn't, Jack interrupted her gently. And I can't explain why, except that some things you just know are right. Stopping for you was right. Fighting for you was right. He gestured around. This is right. Maybe I can't explain it better than that. Sophia felt tears building, fought them back. Lost. I'm falling apart. No, you're breaking open. There's a difference. Jack's hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he brushed tears from her cheeks with his thumb. You've been holding yourself together for so long. You forgot what it feels like to let someone else help carry the weight. I don't know how to do this. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Do what? Trust. Let people in. Believe that someone could care about me without wanting something. Then start small. Jack's voice was infinitely gentle. Trust that tomorrow Diana knows what she's doing. Trust that Tyler's evidence is solid. Trust that Maya and I will be there even if you can't see us. And after tomorrow we figure out what comes next. Together. The word hung between them, heavy with implication, with possibility. Sophia knew she should step back, should maintain distance, should remember that she was a billionaire CEO and he was a handyman. Except that world had almost destroyed her. In this world, this tiny apartment, with its mismatched furniture and crayon drawings, and a man who'd fought for her without expecting anything in return, this world felt more real than anything she'd experienced in 32 years. She didn't step back. Instead, she let herself lean forward, let her forehead rest against Jack's chest, let his arms come around her, slowly, carefully, like he was afraid she might shatter. They stood there while Tyler worked and Maya slept and Atlanta moved through its evening routine outside. Stood there until Sophia's tears stopped and her breathing evened, and some of the fear that had been eating her alive since she found that email 3 days ago loosened its grip just enough that she could breathe again. "Thank you," whispered against his shirt, "for stopping, for fighting, for caring when you didn't have to." Jack's arms tightened fractionally. "You don't have to thank me for being decent. Most people aren't. Decent, I mean. Not when it costs them something. Then most people are doing it wrong. Simple, direct." Eventually, as Sophia pulled back, not far, just enough to look up at him. "Tomorrow. Tomorrow you go be the CEO, be the fighter. Show Ethan exactly what he underestimated." Jack smiled, small, real. "And I'll be there, maybe not in the room, but there." Sophia nodded. Tyler stood from the kitchen table stretching his prosthetic leg. "I'm heading out. Got everything backed up in 17 different locations across 3 continents. They'd need to simultaneously hack servers in Iceland, Kazakhstan, and Taiwan to destroy all the evidence. Even Ethan's not that connected." He grabbed his laptop bag. "Tomorrow's going to be good. Trust the evidence. Trust Diana. Trust that men like Ethan always underestimate everyone because they're fundamentally incapable of understanding that some people fight for reasons other than money." After Tyler left, Jack set up the couch for Sophia again. Fresh sheets, extra pillow, water and pain medication within reach. "Try to sleep. Big day tomorrow." But Sophia lay awake long after Jack had settled into his recliner, long after his breathing had evened into something approximating rest. Lay there thinking about tomorrow, about walking into Ashford Medical Headquarters with Diana, about facing Ethan and the board. Lay there until exhaustion finally dragged her under into dreams that mixed memory and fear and hope in equal measure. When she woke at 6 a.m. to the smell of coffee and the sound of Maya singing something about unicorns in the kitchen, Sophia made a decision. Whatever happened today, whether they won or lost, whether Ethan went to prison or somehow escaped justice, whatever happened, she was done being afraid, done letting men like Ethan define her worth, done believing that power and money mattered more than the kind of human decency Jack and Maya had shown her. She was going to walk into that boardroom and take back everything that had been stolen from her. And if Ethan Cross wanted a war, she'd give him one he'd never forget. Diana arrived at exactly 7 a.m. carrying 2 garment bags and a briefcase that looked like it could survive a nuclear blast. "Got you interview clothes, navy suit, white blouse, sensible heels. You're going to look like the CEO. You are not someone who's been hiding in a maintenance worker's apartment for 2 days." Sophia took the garment bags. Diana's bluntness was oddly comforting. "No offense meant to the maintenance worker," Diana added, glancing at Jack. "None taken. She does need better clothes than my dead wife's sweatpants." The words came out flat but not unkind, just acknowledgement of reality. Sophia changed in the bathroom. The suit fit perfectly. Diana had somehow guessed her size exactly. When she emerged, she looked like herself again, or rather, like the version of herself that ran billion-dollar companies and faced down hostile board members. Except now she had scars, the butterfly bandages on her forehead, the slight limp from her ankle, the shadows under her eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. She looked like someone who'd survived something. Maya stared at her with wide eyes. "You look like a superhero in disguise. Like you're pretending to be a normal person, but you're really powerful." Out of the mouths of babes. "That's exactly right, sweetheart." Diana checked her watch. "We leave in 15 minutes. Jack, you and Maya need to be at the coffee shop across from Ashford Medical by 8:30. Close enough to respond, if needed far enough away that you're not visible targets." Understood. Jack was already helping Maya into her jacket. The 3 of them, Jack, Maya, and Tyler, who'd arrived at 6, would wait at Common Grounds Cafe. Tyler would monitor the situation remotely. Jack would be ready to move if Diana gave the signal. Nobody said what that signal might mean. At 8 a.m. exactly, Diana's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, smiled. "Press statement just went live. Give it 5 minutes, and every news outlet in Atlanta will be scrambling to get crews to Ashford Medical." At 8:15, they left the apartment. Two cars, Jack's F-150 heading to the cafe, Diana's BMW heading downtown. Sophia sat in the passenger seat watching Atlanta wake up around them. Morning commuters, people getting coffee, dog walkers, normal life happening, while her entire existence balanced on the edge of catastrophe or vindication. "You're quiet," Diana observed, thinking about how 3 days ago I had everything: company, money, fiancé, future, and it was all built on lies. Sophia turned to look at Diana. "And now I have nothing except a broken ankle and borrowed clothes and two people I met 48 hours ago who've done more for me than anyone in my entire life." "You have more than that," Diana's voice was firm. "You have evidence. You have truth. You have legal representation. And you have something Ethan Cross has never had and never will have." "What's that? The moral high ground. Don't underestimate how much that matters." They pulled into the Ashford Medical parking garage at 8:42. Sophia's hands were shaking. She pressed them together in her lap. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can. What if I freeze? What if I see Ethan and I just—" "Then you look at me. You remember that you're not alone. And you remember that every word you speak is being recorded and will be used to put him in prison for the next 20 years. Diana reached over to squeeze Sophia's hand. "You've already survived the worst thing that could happen. Everything else is just details." They took the elevator to the 40th floor, executive suite. Sophia had walked these halls 1,000 times. Now they felt foreign, hostile, like the building itself had turned against her. The receptionist's eyes went wide when she saw Sophia. "Ms. Ashford, we've been so worried. Is the board assembled?" Diana's voice cut through the receptionist, stammering. Yes, they're in the main conference room." "Good, we're expected." Diana walked toward the double doors like she owned the place. Sophia followed her heart, hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. Diana paused at the doors, looked at Sophia. "Ready? No, absolutely not. Never. Yes." Diana pushed open the doors. The conference room was exactly as Sophia remembered. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Atlanta. Massive mahogany table. 12 leather chairs that cost more than most people's cars. 11 of those chairs were occupied. The 12th, her father's chair, the CEO's chair, sat empty at the head of the table. Ethan stood beside it, perfectly groomed in a three-piece Tom Ford suit, hair styled, expression carefully arranged into concern and relief. "Sophia, thank God, we've been so worried about you." He started toward her. Diana stepped between them. "Mr. Cross, I'm Diana Reeves, legal counsel for Ms. Ashford. Any communication with my client goes through me." Ethan's expression flickered. Annoyance quickly masked. "Of course, Sophia, sweetheart, please sit down. We just want to make sure you're okay, that you're getting the help you need. Ms. Ashford is fine. She's here voluntarily to address the board regarding serious allegations of fraud and conspiracy." Diana's voice carried through the room like a weapon. "These proceedings are being recorded. Everyone in this room should be aware that anything said may be used in criminal and civil proceedings." The board members shifted uncomfortably. Richard Bennett, CFO, Ethan's co-conspirator, had gone pale. Jennifer Marks and David Wu, the other two conspirators Sophia knew about, exchanged glances. Margaret Collins, the oldest board member, her father's friend, sat very still, watching everything with sharp eyes. "This is absurd," Ethan said smoothly. "Sophia has been missing for 3 days. She's clearly not in her right mind. We're concerned about her mental health." "Ms. Ashford's mental health is fine. Her physical health, on the other hand, was severely compromised when she was assaulted and thrown down a flight of stairs by you, Mr. Cross, in this very building 3 days ago." Diana let that sink in. She sustained a compound ankle fracture, head trauma, and significant bruising. All documented, all photographed, all logged with medical professionals. Lie, but a useful one. Jack's medical care counted. "That was an accident," Ethan said quickly. "Sophia tripped. I tried to help her." "No, Mr. Cross, you pushed her. After she refused to sign fraudulent transfer documents that would have given you control of Ashford Medical Technologies." Diana pulled out a tablet. "We have documentation of a conspiracy spanning 4 years, involving you and 4 members of this board. A scheme to force Ms. Ashford into marriage, coerce her into signing over control of the company, remove her from operational authority, and systematically liquidate company assets for personal profit. The room erupted. Denials, accusations, shock from the board members who apparently hadn't known. Diana raised her voice. We have 847 emails, 53 contracts, financial records showing $180 million already embezzled through shell corporations in the Cayman Islands, and security footage showing Mr. Cross and Richard Bennett physically removing hard drives from the company's server room in an attempt to destroy evidence. She turned to Sophia. Ms. Ashford will now present the evidence. This was it, the moment. Sophia could feel every eye in the room on her. She stood, slowly because her ankle still hurt, walked to the head of the table, to her father's chair. She didn't sit in it, just stood behind it, hands resting on the leather back. 4 years ago, she began her voice steadier than she felt. Ethan Cross joined this company. 6 months later, he asked me to dinner. A year after that, he proposed. I said yes because I thought he loved me. I thought I'd found someone who saw me as more than just my father's heir. Someone who wanted me, not my money or my company. She paused. I was wrong. Diana connected the tablet to the presentation system. The screen behind Sophia lit up with the first email. To Richard Bennett from Ethan Cross. Date October 15th, 3 years ago. Subject Phase 1 complete. The engagement is secured, Sophia read aloud. She's completely convinced this is real. She trusts me completely. It's actually pathetic how easy this has been. Ethan's face had gone from concern to fury. Richard Bennett looked like he might be sick. Sophia continued. Email after email, contract after contract. The conspiracy laid bare in Ethan's own words. Plans to declare her mentally incompetent. Bribe psychiatrists ready to diagnose whatever they were paid to diagnose. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Shell corporations designed to hide embezzlement. Financial projections showing how they'd liquidate Ashford Medical over 5 years, pocket $250 million, then sell what remained to a Chinese conglomerate that would eliminate 12,000 jobs worldwide. Her father's legacy, 3 decades of work, all of it reduced to numbers in a spreadsheet and money in secret accounts. 3 days ago, Sophia said, her voice harder now. I found these emails. I confronted Ethan. He didn't deny it, just smiled and told me it didn't matter because I'd signed the papers anyway. She touched the bandage on her forehead. The next day, I walked into an emergency board meeting. Ethan had the transfer documents ready. When I refused to sign when I tried to leave, he grabbed me, pushed me. I fell down 10 marble steps, broke my ankle, hit my head hard enough to lose consciousness. Margaret Collins stood up. Is this true? Her voice shook with rage. Did you assault this girl in my presence? Ethan opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time since Sophia had known him, he had no smooth answer ready. It was an accident. I was there, Ethan. I saw what happened. I saw you grab her. I saw her fall. And I saw you stand over her and threaten her while she bled on the floor. Margaret turned to the board. I've been gathering my own evidence, quietly, because I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I have records of every suspicious transaction, every offshore account, every falsified contract. I've been documenting this for 6 months. She pulled out her own tablet. I have enough evidence to put you in prison for 20 years, Ethan. And I plan to testify at your trial. The room exploded into chaos. Board members shouting, Ethan trying to regain control. Richard Bennett standing up, then sitting down, then standing up again, like he couldn't decide whether to run or fight. Diana's voice cut through it all. I have federal prosecutors on standby. I have reporters waiting outside this building. And I have enough evidence to bring criminal charges against every person who was complicit in this conspiracy. She looked at each board member in turn. You have one opportunity, right now. Resign quietly, cooperate with investigations, accept whatever civil penalties come your way, or refuse and spend the next decade in federal court fighting charges you cannot win. This is extortion, Ethan snarled. No, Mr. Cross, this is consequences. Diana pulled out her phone. You have 60 seconds to decide. After that, I make 3 phone calls. FBI, SEC, Wall Street Journal. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Richard Bennett broke first. I resign. His voice came out barely louder than a whisper. I resign. I'll cooperate. I'll testify. Just please. My family. I have kids. Jennifer Marks was crying. I resign. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. One by one, the conspirators crumbled. David Wu, Patricia Simmons. The fifth conspirator, a man named Thomas Wright, who Sophia hadn't even known was involved. 5 resignations in 5 minutes. Ethan stood alone, furious, desperate. You can't do this. You have no authority. The board will. The board has spoken, Margaret Collins said coldly. 5 members have resigned. 4 more are horrified by what you've done. I'm calling for a vote to remove you as vice president, effective immediately. All in favor. 7 hands went up. The clean board members plus Margaret. The vote carries. Mr. Cross, you are terminated for cause. Security will escort you from the building. This isn't over, Ethan hissed. He turned to Sophia. You think you've won? You have no idea what I'm capable of. The conference room doors opened. 4 FBI agents walked in, followed by 2 people in suits with SEC credentials. Ethan Cross, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. The lead agent pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. This is insane. You can't. They turned him around, cuffed him, started reading his rights. Ethan's eyes found Sophia one last time. Pure hatred burned there. This isn't over, he said again, but his voice shook. And Sophia realized something. He was just a man, not a monster, not omnipotent, just a man who'd made terrible choices and was finally facing the consequences. Yes, she said quietly, it is. They let him out. Richard Bennett and the other conspirators were cuffed next. One by one, they were walked past Sophia, some crying, some defiant, all of them broken. When the last one was gone, the conference room felt different, lighter, like a weight had been lifted from the very air. Margaret Collins crossed to Sophia, pulled her into a hug. Your father would be so proud. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I stepped down as CEO. I can't. After everything, I can't run this company. I know. The board will need to select new leadership. But Sophia, Margaret held her at arm's length. You showed more courage in the last 3 days than most people show in a lifetime. Don't forget that. Diana was already packing up her tablet. We need to give a statement to the press. They're going to have questions. Sophia nodded. Let Diana lead her out of the conference room down the hallway to the front entrance. The lobby was packed. Reporters, cameras, microphones shoved forward the moment they appeared. Ms. Ashford, is it true that Ethan Cross was arrested? Were you kidnapped? Why did you disappear for 3 days? Diana held up a hand. Ms. Ashford will make a brief statement. No questions. Sophia took a breath, looked directly into the cameras. 3 days ago, I discovered evidence of a conspiracy to defraud Ashford Medical Technologies. When I refused to participate, I was assaulted by my former fiancé, Ethan Cross. He and 4 members of our board of directors have been arrested on federal charges, including fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. I am stepping down as CEO to focus on recovery and to assist with the investigation. The board will appoint interim leadership. Ashford Medical will emerge from this stronger and more committed to the integrity and ethics my father built this company on. Thank you. She turned away, ignored the shouted questions. Let Diana guide her through the crowd to the parking garage. They got into the BMW. Diana started the engine. You did good. Sophia leaned her head back against the seat. Is it really over? The criminal part, that is just beginning. Ethan and his co-conspirators will face trial. You'll have to testify, but the immediate threat, yes, that's over. They drove to Common Grounds Cafe in silence. Diana pulled into the parking lot. Through the window, Sophia could see Jack and Maya at a corner table. Tyler was there too, laptop open. They were watching news coverage on Tyler's screen. When Sophia walked in, Maya saw her first. Sophia. She jumped out of her chair and ran across the cafe, threw herself at Sophia with enough force that they almost fell over. You did it? We watched on Mr. Tyler's computer. They put the bad man in handcuffs. Sophia knelt down, ankle screaming in protest, and hugged Maya back. We did it. All of us together. Jack had stood up, was walking over slowly. When he reached her, he didn't say anything, just pulled her into his arms and held her while she cried. Not sad tears, not scared tears. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. It was over. Really, actually over. The Phoenix Foundation occupied a small storefront in East Atlanta. 3 rooms, bright windows, a sign out front that read, "Safe haven for those who need it." Sophia Morrison, she'd legally changed her name back to her mother's maiden name 3 months ago, unlocked the door at 8 a.m. and turned on the lights. The foundation had helped 42 women in 6 months, provided emergency shelter, legal assistance, job training, medical care, whatever they needed to escape situations that would have killed them if they'd stayed. It was funded by the settlement from Ashford Medical. The company had paid Sophia $20 million to avoid a civil suit. She'd taken $15 million and started the foundation. Kept $5 million for herself, enough to live on, not enough to return to the world of penthouse apartments and private jets. She didn't miss it. The door opened, her first appointment. A woman in her mid-20s, black eye poorly concealed with makeup, clutching a backpack like it was the only thing she owned in the world. "Hi, I saw your website. It said you help women." "We do. Come in. You're safe here." Sophia spent the next 2 hours getting the woman set up with emergency housing, a restraining order, and a job interview at a partner company. By noon, she'd helped 2 more women. Had lunch at her desk, sandwich from the deli next door. Nothing fancy, exactly what she wanted. Her phone buzzed. Text from Jack. "Taking dinner, your place or mine?" They'd been dating, if you could call it that, for 5 months now. Slowly, carefully, both of them damaged in different ways, both of them healing. "Yours. I'll bring dessert." Maya requests chocolate chip cookies. Done. She smiled, put the phone away. The afternoon brought more clients, more women who needed help, who'd found the courage to leave but didn't know what came next. Sophia knew exactly how they felt. At 5 p.m., she locked up, drove to Jack's apartment, still the same 680 square feet, still the same mismatched furniture, still home in ways her penthouse had never been. Maya answered the door. "Sophia, I got an A on my math test, and the doctor said my insulin levels are perfect." "That's amazing, sweetheart." Jack was in the kitchen. He'd gotten a new job 3 months ago, facilities manager at a nonprofit that provided low-income housing. Better pay, better hours. Still doing what he loved, fixing things, helping people. "Smells good. What are we having?" "A tempting chicken parmesan. Might be edible." Sophia crossed to him, wrapped her arms around his waist from behind, rested her head against his back. "Love you." She felt him tense, just slightly. They hadn't said it before. Not out loud, not with words. "Love you too." His voice was rough with emotion. They ate dinner at the small kitchen table, talked about their days. Maya told a long, complicated story about her friend Jessica and some drama involving trading cards. Jack described a plumbing emergency that had turned out to be much simpler than expected. Normal life, beautiful in its ordinariness. After Maya went to bed, Jack and Sophia sat on the small balcony. Summer heat had finally broken. October air carried a hint of coolness. "I have something for you," Jack said. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Sophia's heart stopped. "Jack, wait, before you panic, it's not what you think. I mean, it is. But also it's different." He was nervous, rambling. It was adorable. "I've been thinking about this for months. Talked to Maya about it. Talked to Diana about it. Hell, I even talked to Tyler about it." He opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring. 3 small stones, blue, pink, white. "Sapphire for me, rose quartz for Maya, white topaz for you, because we're stronger together." He took a breath. "Sophia Morrison. I'm a facilities manager making $50,000 a year. I live in a tiny apartment. I have a daughter with diabetes. I'm not rich, I'm not powerful. By society's standards, I'm nobody." His voice went soft. "But you make me feel like somebody. You make Maya feel loved. You walked away from billions of dollars to start a foundation that helps women nobody else wants to help. You're the bravest person I've ever met." He got down on one knee. Will you marry me? Will you officially become part of this chaotic, beautiful family? Sophia was crying, happy tears, overwhelmed tears. Yes, God, yes. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. She pulled him up, kissed him, deep and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. From inside the apartment, are you guys getting married? Maya stood in the doorway, eyes wide. Were you supposed to be asleep? Jack asked. Are you getting married? Maya repeated. Sophia laughed through her tears. Yes, sweetheart, we're getting married. Maya shrieked with joy, ran onto the balcony, threw her arms around both of them. They stood there, Jack, Sophia, and Maya, holding on to each other under Atlanta stars. A family built not from blood, but from choice, from courage, from the simple decision to do what was right even when it was hard. 3 months later, they got married in a small ceremony. 50 people, Tyler as best man, Diana as maid of honor, Maya as flower girl in a princess dress that made her look like royalty. The Phoenix Foundation gave its first scholarship the same day in Rebecca Reynolds' name. Full ride to nursing school for a young woman who'd escaped domestic violence and wanted to help others do the same. Sophia kept her job running the foundation. Jack kept his job managing facilities. They bought a small house in East Atlanta, not fancy, not huge, but theirs, with a yard for Maya and a garden where Sophia could grow flowers. On their first anniversary, Maya gave them a drawing, the three of them holding hands in front of their house. Underneath, in careful printing, our forever family. And it was. Not perfect, never perfect. Life was still hard sometimes. Money was still tight. Maya still had diabetes. Sophia still had nightmares about Ethan. But they had each other. And that was enough. More than enough. Everything.